computer-generated images have revolutionized the way movies get made. Of course, there are still a few directors who prefer practical effects, but by and large, the industry has embraced CGI in a big way. For all the good it's done, it's tempting to think that a little post-production manipulation is always a good thing. But the next 10 examples prove unequivocally that that isn't true. Before we get to all that, we wanted to say thanks for watching. And if you like what you see, check out our YouTube channel for more great videos like this one.
Hold on to your butt.
Here are 10 performances ruined by laughable CGI. And before we start, can you guess this movie from these emojis? Stay tuned for the answer at the end of our video. Suicide Squad. 2016's Suicide Squad has certainly received its fair share of criticism. For some, underdeveloped characters, unnecessarily tangled storylines, and studio meddling were all to blame, while others just sat back and enjoyed the ride. There's another critique that appears occasionally, and it has everything to do with the film's climactic battle. Opponents argue that the heavy reliance on CGI actually takes away from the scene.
Hey, everyone can see all this drippy magic stuff, right?
The action is barely visible, and because of the framing, it's impossible to establish any kind of perspective. Audiences are led to believe it's a huge battle, and it's built up as such, but for many, the scene just didn't deliver.
Own that.
X-Men Apocalypse. Oscar Isaac is everywhere these days, but unless you checked his IMDb page beforehand, you might watch X-Men Apocalypse and miss his performance entirely. Apocalypse is an insanely strong mutant, and a fixture to be feared in the X-Men canon. Both digital and practical effects were used to achieve the character's appearance. And as a result of the layering, some people argue that the actor's performance was totally lost in a sea of blue prosthetics. Considering all the talent Isaac brings to the table, that sounds like a damn shame. World War Z. When it comes to comparing the World War Z movie to the book of the same name, it's obvious that the only thing they share is a title. The entire narrative structure, geography, and major plot points are completely different. And when it comes to the zombies themselves, the big screen adaptation fails hard. The swirling computer-generated mass of phony walkers scaling the Jerusalem wall is particularly hard to watch. With the graphics quality of a late 90s video game, the scene falls totally flat, taking all the suspense with it. If only we could just blow on the cartridge and try again.
It's crazy.
Return of the Jedi. There's an old saying that goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And when George Lucas was fiddling around with the Star Wars special editions, he would have done well to remember that. Lucas made all sorts of changes behind the scenes.
What did he say?
And dedicated fans can spot every single one of them. But one that's easy for everyone to recognize happens in Return of the Jedi.
It won't be easy for you to hear it, but you must.
In the middle of the Jedi rock scene, two very obvious CG characters appear that don't blend in with the background at all. In fact, there's even a few close-ups. Let this be a lesson to us all. Don't mess with perfection. Guardians of the Galaxy. On paper, Thanos is one of the most intimidating big bads in comic book history. Yeah, he was born deformed, but it's what's on the inside that counts. He's crazy smart, extra superpowered, and has a gauntlet full of gems that literally lets him control everything everywhere all the time. How the hell are you even supposed to beat something like that? Seriously. While fans who are in the know can appreciate how spine-chilling the character is supposed to be, anyone basing their opinion off of his big screen appearance might come away with a different impression. He's not very intimidating, and it's kind of hard to take him seriously. Jurassic World. As we've heard once or twice before, with great power comes great responsibility. And adding on to an iconic property like Jurassic Park is not a task to be taken lightly. There are precious childhood memories at risk, reminders of a simpler time.
Must go faster.
So when the highly anticipated Jurassic World was released in 2015, we all held our collective breath. It opened to mixed reviews, and one of the biggest complaints was about the CGI. For many filmmakers, the age of animatronics is over and digital effects reign supreme. Being released 22 years after the original, audiences anticipated visuals even more convincing than they'd already seen, and a lot of them were let down by the spectacle.
That is one big pile of
The Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2. It's a movie-making fact that those who sign up to work alongside young children are almost guaranteed to have a bad time. If a baby wants to cry, it's gonna cry. But thanks to advances in technology, the Twilight team was able to take a shortcut.
It's true.
Instead of using a real one, they just CG'd one of those suckers in there and prayed for the best. Renesmee is strange looking, even for a vampire hybrid.
Artifice.
But still, even though she was entirely digital, the infant actually gave the best performance in the entire movie. X-Men Origins Wolverine. If nothing else, Wolverine is supposed to be badass.
You want to get out of my way?
Everyone knows that mutants who fight with blades are just cooler than ones who don't. It's science. And with the exception of a few scenes from 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine, his claws generally live up to their pants-wetting reputation. In this movie, they're more than a little off. They're a perfect example of cartoonish CGI interfering with an otherwise pretty okay performance from Hugh Jackman. Thankfully, this installment in the franchise's history has been largely overshadowed by some other memorable moments. So if you forgot about this movie entirely, you're probably not alone. I Am Legend. I Am Legends does a great job of building tension. Revealing the story in bits and pieces is a great way to keep the audience engaged. If only the big surprise lived up to its epic foreshadowing. The antagonists are terrifying, until you actually see what they look like. Their rubbery faces were funnier than they were scary, and effectively undid all the hard work from the first half of the movie. The scenario is unsettling. Imagine you were the last person alive, surrounded by infected who used to be your loved ones. Some really awesome special effects makeup would have done wonders here, but instead the filmmakers just had to show off. Green Lantern. When executed poorly, CGI can spoil the whole movie-going experience, regardless of who is in front of the camera. Take, for instance, the universally loved Ryan Reynolds. No conversation about ill-fated CGI decisions would be complete without mentioning 2011's Green Lantern. Computer-generated from tip to toe, Hal Jordan's suit was 100% fake and 200% ridiculous. It was so bad that when the actor suited up for last year's Deadpool, the filmmakers threw in a couple of jabs at his past work. Obviously, Reynolds was a good sport about it, and has even said that nobody hates Green Lantern's suit more than he does.
I can go all day, Dopinder. The point is, it's bad.
It's bad.
So what do you think of our list? Did we skip over any other CGI ruined performances? And the answer to the movie emoji is... Did you get the right answer? Let us know in the comments below. Hey everyone, if you liked this video, make sure that you check out our friends at the CBR YouTube channel. They've got some amazing new videos about movies, TV, video games, comics, and tons of other fun stuff. Check out their new video, subscribe to their channel, and don't forget to tell them that ScreenRant sent you. Thanks for watching.